what's been some of the changes that you've seen over the years, things that have worked and things that maybe have not worked for your program?
Well, there have been tremendous changes, obviously, beginning with having 8 students do the first model simulation to the point where we ended up with 35. The budgets, of course, we started out having $1,000, and now our budgets are up to around $25,000. As I mentioned earlier, the way that we go about doing the research, because of the new technologies that are available, have completely changed that part of the process. The expansion of the program to include international conferences as well, where we've attended conferences at the American University in Cairo, at The Hague in the Netherlands, at the London School of Economics in London. And next year we're hoping to either go to Asia or back to South America or some other country in Europe. So all of those things have been dramatic changes. Specifically, I think the biggest change was that the first group that went through the program ended up going, many of them ended up in Washington, D.C. And they were either in Congress or in the State Department, at the CIA, at the Department of Defense, and what they would serve as mentors to the later groups going down, so that not only would we attend the conference at Georgetown University or American University, where the conferences were held in the 15-year period that we did them, not only did we go to those conferences, but we had former students mentoring and setting up briefings at the Department of Defense with top people at the Defense Department briefing our students, or at the State Department where we were briefed by top-level diplomats at the State Department, as well as our former students who now were in these positions themselves. So all of those things were tremendous changes, I think, over time. And then finally, last year, when we began the first annual high school Model United Nations, and began with 140 students from, I think, 6 schools, to where this year we have over 180 students from 8 or 9 schools, and the support that we've gotten from the university throughout this entire period of time. I went from having almost no support the first year because no one knew anything about it, to the point where we've just had incredible support from Chancellor Hogan and from Provost Wooding and from the department chairs and Dean Carroll. Everyone has been extremely supportive of the program as it's gone on.
So you're connected now. Your students are all in the
correct
spot. That's terrific. That's wonderful.
Could that be an avenue for a new program to maybe set up some kind of, work with one-on-one stuff with really interested and motivated students to work with hand in hand with those who are involved, officials?
Yes, in fact, we've had some that have done that. They've done internships, because I was also the campus liaison for the Washington Center, and so we've had now up to 30 or 40 students do the Washington Center, and over 400 have done the Model UN's programs. So yes, they have been mentored individually, one-on-one, doing internships with former students who are now in these various positions throughout, not only international, but state internships as well.
Lee?
I had a question for Professor Chung Moon. I know that you took over 2 years ago. What have been some of the challenges you have faced in the past couple of years?
Wow. Well, one of the benefits, though, to start with the benefit is when I assumed the responsibility, all the foundations have been set. So it was not like starting everything from the scratch. And luckily, Dean has been with me. And if I have any questions, any assistance, he helped me. So, however, one of the main challenge is to continue the work of a professor who has been extremely popular, who has been very charismatic, and I feel like, you know, the standard has been set very high. All the students have done tremendous, very impressive work in the past, and I feel like the burdens on me is very, you know, massive amount of burdens on me to live up to the expectations, to continue that legacy. However, so far I enjoy the experience very much. Yes.
And what conferences would you like to see? I know you said South America, maybe Asia. Is there any other ones that you would like to take the league to in the future? Or how would you like to see it grow?
Right now we are not very sure yet where we are going. We are thinking of Harvard-run international model, and they have not decided which country they're going to host the conference. But since I am interested in Asia and since my expertise is on Southeast Asia region, I would like to take my students to Asian, especially Southeast Asian countries.
I'd like to ask a question. What are some of the criticisms today about the UN, given the foreign policy and, you know, given the United States involvement internationally? Are there some criticisms that the UN is now weak, or do you see that? I'm kind of curious.
Well, that's one of the issues that they deal with is reform of the UN, and so that becomes a matter of representing the interests of whatever country you're representing that particular year. That will determine the role that our students will play in discussing either the strengths or the weaknesses of the UN. But as part of the reform question, some of our students will be engaged in that discussion.
One of the main criticisms of the United Nations is that, especially with the U.S. invasion of Iraq, is that United Nations has become ineffective, even though despite there is a tremendous popular protest against the war by most of the countries. The United Nations has not been able to work cooperatively, bring all these countries together to work cooperatively on this issue. So actually, the criticism is correct to the extent that when it comes to security, military issues, United Nations is ineffective to some extent. However, when it comes to humanitarian, social, educational, health issues, I think that United Nations has done tremendous amount of work, impressive amount of work in these spheres.
I had a question on your recent trip to Montreal, how the students did and what were some of the debates that the students took place in Montreal.
Yeah, it was the University of Toronto.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But that's fine. Yeah, they returned in February from a week at the University of Toronto, and because I recently broke my leg, I was not able to attend. So I'll let Arta address that question about what topics they discussed and so on.
Well, in the Security Council, they talk about Darfur crisis in Sudan. And in the United Nations Development Program, they talk about financing, microfinancing. They also talk about the role of women. In WHO, World Health Organization, they talk about AIDS, researching AIDS, and and alleviation of poverty. And in disarmament, they talk about the role of technology in border security issues.
So will the issues be the same with